Takulandirani. We are on PAKACHERE. This is a Muna podcast, and we just want to say welcome for joining
For
us
joining us
today.
today.
You're with me, Sala, and my co-host,
My name
Charity.
is Charity Gladstone. I'm the president of Malawian UK Nurses Association, Takulandirani.
Yes, and today we have a really, really important topic that we want to discuss. Charity, do you want to introduce what the topic is about today?
So today we're going to reflect on the work led by the national team, National Independent Reviews, National Investigation on Maternity and Neonate Investigation in England. So we have today our guest, Ruth Nanthambwe, who is a
Yes.
midwife. I'll let Ruth introduce herself.
Before Ruth comes in, I think one of the key things we need to say that about Ruth is that she is Muna's maternal neonatal lead, and in her day job, she works at Sherwood Forest. So she is a specialist midwife, focusing on perinatal pastoral support. So she is a professional midwifery advocate. That's what we call it, isn't it? A PMA. And
Yes.
just to add a little spice on top, we are absolutely proud and honored to have Ruth in the room with us because in 2021, for her outstanding work as a ward manager during the pandemic, she was awarded the Chief Midwifery Officer Award, the Silver Award, which was handed to her by Jackie Bentley. So we are always proud of our own for doing amazing work and for being recognized nationally for the work that she's doing. Ruth, do you want to say just a little bit more about yourself before we dig in?
Hi, thank you for inviting me to Pakachere. Really honored and privileged. As Sarah has said, I'm Ruth Nanthambwe, a mom of two girls, teenage girls, who are in the middle of exams as we are coming A levels and GCSE. I'm a nurse midwife, trained all here. I've been a critical care nurse. I've got cardiology background, and now I'm just mainly working in maternity services. So I trained in Nottingham, and I've stayed in Nottingham. Um, I've done several roles in my midwifery career. I've been a ward leader. I've been both for shared birthing unit and maternity ward. I've done saving babies' lives. And now I'm mainly focusing on the perinatal pastoral support because the supervisors of midwives were phased out. So obviously the midwives have had no support. So this obviously was one of the things Jacqueline Dunkley Bent brought in, wanted professional midwifery advocates. And we also now have professional nursing advocates as well. So collectively, we are just called professional advocates because we can support anybody, whether in midwifery, allied, or even in nursing. So we're kind of like, we do the same course, all of us. So we're all rounder. So support is provided to anybody. It doesn't necessarily just focus on just nurses or midwives. It goes all the way to students, to doctors, to any member of staff who needs our support. And we do look in terms of not just like support, we look into QI projects, we look into supporting staff who facing any difficulties either at work or personal life. We also look into supporting women as well. So I've got a colleague who just supports mainly women and focusing on making sure that we're providing the care that they need. As well as we support in terms of like education. So people needing revalidation, making sure that they've got all the paperwork and everything that they have. So in a nutshell, that's kind of like who I am.
Wow, that
Wow.
is extensive, isn't it, Charity?
It is extensive, and it's first of all, congratulations on your silver award that you received in 2021. We have to congratulate you. I know it's a bit 5 years later, but it still
Thank
matters to
you.
us as midwives, as nurses, but also nurses of Malawian heritage. I have read so many reports when it comes to midwifery. There's so many reports, but that being your specialist, I will let you reflect on others, but I will just touch upon on Baroness viral report, which was recently commissioned, not just to look at the individual services, but at the wider maternity and neonatal system, bringing together lessons from the past reviews into one clear set of actions. And also, it talks about more compassionate care. So, Baroness Amos review matters because it's not treating poor maternity care, but a small number of isolated local failures. There is good practice in midwifery, as you will know, Ruth, in your role. But this report is examining whether the problems are systemic, they're long-term standing, they're national, and whether women, babies, and families are receiving the care that is consistently safe, equitable, and compassionate. And the investigation also places the family lived experience at the center of it all, including those that have experienced harm, loss, and also poor care. But in your role as a specialist midwives, you might know a little bit more. So can you just give us an overview of
So,
the reports?
yeah. So what she has been looking into is the fact of the matter is there's been so many reports that have happened out there, but neither of those reports, no action has come out of it, especially for Black and ethnic minority women who have been involved in it. What she has pointed out is the failures are systematic and they're just not isolated to one single hospital. It's a national problem. And some of the key themes that she has actually found in there is a culture where women are not listened to, almost women feeling like they're being unheard. And many families have reported these concerns, but some have found themselves that they have been dismissed. And linking into that is some of the things that have also been identified in the Ockendon report. So currently we have another Ockendon report within Nottingham, which is happening. And some of the themes that are coming from there are exactly what Baroness Amos has said. There is significant racial inequalities in it, which has been highlighted, but the stark disparities that actually come out of it is mainly affecting the Black and minority ethnic women, which echoes what members have said. Black women, 3-4 times more to die than their white counterparts. Staff are under a lot of pressure and they're feeling unsupported. So the workload has increased, the staffing hasn't, and the emotional strain that midwives are having to go through is just huge. And they want to deliver good care, but the environment is not allowing them to do that. There is clear poor communication sometimes within the staff groups. There's breakdown in communication, and we know what happens when there is breakdown in communication. A lot of things, people start assuming things are happening. But also we know that when there is breakdown in communication, we have heard in so many other different reports, incivility kills basically. So there is that incivility now that comes along with it, which is obviously a safety concern. And then obviously the leadership and governance gaps. Those are some of the concerns that have also been highlighted. And obviously, this then also leads to the safety issues. Hence, there is missed opportunities. Obviously, services and being tasked that they need to improve. So we've heard time and time again, this hospital is under, investigation. They've now been put into special measures. The CQC have come in and they've identified that, there is poor culture in this hospital. We want you to implement this. So those are some of the key themes that have come out, but it's nothing new. It's something that has been highlighted time and time again, but we're just not actioning it.
Can I
So,
just, yeah, I was going to say the word action is what's standing out to me. So
yeah.
one of the key things that you've highlighted is the fact that this is a systemic failure. And
Mm.
the problem with systemic failures is that it has to have a face. It has to give accountability. There has to be accountability. So an organization, where does that accountability sit? Then it always comes down to the midwife, the person at the forefront providing that care to be held accountable. And it
Mm.
seems that's where the action is taking place. You
Yeah.
mentioned that the Ockenden report and what's happening in Nottingham, for example.
Mm.
Can you just help us understand, what sort of actions have taken place in those spaces, and then highlight what impact is that having on the workforce in terms of midwifery as a PMA in your role?
So currently, the full report hasn't come out, but there
Mm.
are snippets that obviously are in the public eye.
Yeah.
Currently, we have heard um, Donna obviously has been meeting with families, and they've highlighted these issues that women were dismissed, women were not heard. And as a result of that, like you have said, that they want to put a face to it. Currently, they've identified that at least about 90 midwives have been involved. And it was in the news to say that one particular midwife obviously has been referred to the Nursing Midwifery Council for fitness to practice. And also out of this, they're now looking into it as it's now a police matter. So they're looking at prosecuting. So as a result of this, midwives are so much under stress.
Mm.
And it's the fact that you're not going to practice effectively as the way you would normally do. You're now going to be a very defensive practitioner. And with
Yes.
already under pressured staff, the workload is already high. Women are actually not going to receive the care that they need because midwives are now really scared that, oh, I don't really want to do this because of the consequences that will come out of it if I don't do this correctly. Or and as a PMA, it's really difficult to come and assure somebody to say that everything is going to be fine when you know what the reality is out there. So you can only do so much as a PMA, but
Mm.
also it's your leadership that needs to take that ownership to say that this is how we're going to support our staff. And when we look at education, we are getting midwives out there, but there isn't jobs for them to come to. And yet we are struggling. We're saying that the staffing, we haven't got staff, but there isn't jobs out there because trusts are in financial problems. So it's a whole
Yeah.
360 that we just keep
Yeah.
revolving around.
Yeah. So picking on Salah's point, and you've probably covered it in some parts. Because so for midwives, this is not only a workforce issue, it is a professional issue. Um, if racism, incivility, fear, and poor culture affect safety, then education has to prepare midwives, not
Yeah.
only for clinical competency, but also, I'm thinking, for advocacy.
Mm.
um, so that they're empowered to escalate and anti-discrimination practice, and also to make sure that the care that they're giving is culturally safe and they're enabled to speak up when women are not being heard, because that's what when what I've heard and what I've read from the snippets of the report that's published. And reflecting as well on the regulatory direction, because you have mentioned that it's in the public that probably there might be some prosecution of a midwife. And the NMC code requires us as professionals to recognize diversity and also to treat people as individuals and challenge discriminatory practices. But what does this really mean for midwifery education? How can we future-proof this so that our kids and their descendants as Black people should not face this? But for women, for all the women in general, should not be facing this in midwifery.
So you've touched
So,
on
so what,
about
what does it mean in practical terms in midwifery education?
So because of the racial inequalities, we need to have models or toolkits that are enabling if starting from education, enabling culturally sensitive issues. So we need to develop a tool, which I
Yeah,
feel like we need it,
yeah,
because half the time people are coming into this profession so blind, but those also those biases that they have acquired from somewhere else. And if we're not teaching it in our education systems, preparing them for it, they will come into that already racially systemic institution,
mm,
and they'll just blend in. So
yeah,
we need to start making them aware from the offset when they go into education to say that we need to cut down this from the onset, as well as when they come in during their induction process, making them aware of what care looks like, really, not just copying or embedding yourself in a system just because you want to fit in.
mm-hmm,
You as a person who has had that education background, then you can be that person with fresh eyes to say that actually, this is not what we were taught in university. There is this is how good looks like.
mm-hmm.
So getting them to understand what good looks like from the offset so that when they don't see good happening, then they start questioning it and calling it out. Um,
So what I'm
culturally
hearing
safe,
from you, what I'm hearing from you is that midwifery education now needs to go beyond technical teaching, but to also embed the cultural safety, um,
yeah,
to be anti-racist, isn't it? Uh,
absolutely.
to be trauma-informed
Yeah,
communication, and people need to be aware of those inequality that exist, um,
yeah,
and the communication skills. Um, so pretty much there's a lot of work that needs to be done from what I'm hearing,
a
pre-registration,
lot, a lot.
isn't it?
And people need not to lose that compassion, because one of
Mm-hmm.
the highlights from the report that Baroness Amos said is people have lost their compassion. So, for instance, especially around baby loss,
Mm.
um, a family that lost twins, and the way they were communicated to was like, oh, at least you've still got one twin. That is just not right.
Oh,
That is not right. Where's your
no.
compassion? This
Yeah.
family are having to deal with grief as well as they
Mm.
have to deal with joy. How do you balance the two?
I think
That
taking
is
it, yeah, that
powerful.
is really, really powerful, Ruth, because everything that you've spoken about from the lens of midwifery and from the lens of the midwives and the organization systems and education, what it boils down to is the experiences that mothers
Yeah,
and babies are having in practice.
I have been.
And
Mhm.
I think all of us have had we're mothers and we've had babies here in this country,
Mm.
and we've had varied
Mm-hmm.
experience. I mean, I've had terrible experiences and I've had good experiences in trusts, and the care has varied.
Mhm.
And but one thing that, in terms of conversations that we've been having with lots of women who look like us, and you mentioned a little bit earlier on about the Embrace report, that
Mhm.
highlights inequalities, especially for Black and Brown people and people from
Yes.
deprived areas, that our experience is not, it's mostly not a pleasant experience. And
Yeah.
to link that to what you were saying about education, this is because of how we are teaching and training our midwives. So, an
Mhm.
example, I know we had this
Mm.
conversation a couple of weeks back. Um,
Yeah.
I think is it the resuscitation of neonates, the Resuscitation
Mm-hmm.
Council
Yeah.
UK, they still rely on that color-based clinical indicators such as cyanosis
Indicators.
and
Yeah.
pallor. So
Yeah.
that, black and brown babies, it's not applicable to black and brown babies, but then this is how
It
you're
is
No.
not.
training your
Yeah.
midwives
Yeah.
in terms of how to resuscitate babies. When things go wrong in practice, you're blaming the midwife. Once
Yeah.
again, we're going back to the system, we're going
To
back
the
to education.
system. Yeah.
As yes, but what I was
Yeah.
trying to drive at really is around the experiences of black and brown people. Um, I just want to
Want
hear
to
from
hear from
yourself,
yourself.
as a midwife and in your experiences, what have you seen? What would you recommend? And as a mother who has gone through the system, what would you like to see different that would say I've had a good experience in maternal care?
Think for me is the collaboration with the reports. The reports are there. They've highlighted all these problems, the disparities that Black and ethnic minority women are facing.
Mm.
But there has been no action or accountability. Oh yeah, we've heard Black and brown women are more at risk of dying, but what are we doing
Mm-hmm.
about it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, co co collaborate with these communities. What can we do to help to make sure that you are not at a disadvantage? So get these communities to come together. Actually, put people who look like them at the forefront to say that we want to champion you. What can we do better to make sure that we are not putting you at a disadvantage? But also look at the tools that we're using. You've mentioned about APICA scores. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
see a pink brown baby anywhere anytime soon. So
Yeah.
those are some of the tools. What can we do to change this narrative? Because we are already putting these babies at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that actually stands out more was we saw this during COVID time where the SATS monitors, they were either over exaggerating how it was saying that your oxygen levels were high, but in fact they were quite low. It's still
Mm.
happening the same way. So it's making sure that don't just rely on the tools that you're using, but physically listen to the parents. If they are voicing concerns, listen to them. They know their baby more than we would do because I'm just having a quick glance at this baby, but they will spend a lot of time with this baby. But also try when they come in, integrate them,
Mm.
explain the systems, how it works, because wherever they might be coming from, their
Yeah.
system might be that they go to emergency department first. We don't
Yeah.
do that here. We
Yeah.
actually come to the maternity services first. So when you're making that booking as a midwife, ensure that you're incorporating these things with them to make sure that they fully understand. But also language barriers are a bigger problem. like, linguistics in every region, like we know. You could say something like in Nottingham, but it might not be applicable in London. It's the same for women when they come here. We assume that they understand what we're saying to them, but they don't. So use, translators to make sure that they actually do understand. Also, kind of like, breaking it down in smaller bite-sized chunks that they fully understand and get it and get them to repeat it back to you so that then you've got that narrative to say that actually I've explained this and they get it. And not shying away, feeling like you're gonna offend them. Be brave and ask them, how did you labor last time? Because they're the
Mm.
only person who can tell you how they labored last time. Don't just assume that you know. Also, the one thing that I always advocate for is for women who have got like different names, try and learn the name. They will thank you for it because that's their identity. So if you're even bothered about their identity, they will have trust with you to say that if she can remember my name, I'm happy for her. And you'll find that women will actually open up even more to you because you have
Mm.
shown that interest. So even just in knowing their name fully and not just like really say, oh, I can't pronounce that name. I just find that if we cannot pronounce Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can pronounce any other name. So it's
Isn't
in
it?
small little things that really matter to us
Yeah.
that I want people
Yeah.
to on board and embracing it.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
pronounce
And
Arnold
dignity.
Schwarzenegger. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dignity matters. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying. Dignity matters. It matters just
Yeah.
like bread and water. So what you have broken down is that practical part and
Mhm.
the listening to women. They know best. You've
Mhm.
mentioned about proper access to interpreters or translators, which is really, really key, and I think is something we need to take away. And that compassionate communication. I was sitting and listening to you to just try and listen deeply. That compassionate communication. Try and learn their name. If you know Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I'm sure you can say what Ruth's name is, Nanthambwe. At least try, or Kulumula. And services should be designed around women's realities rather than expecting women to adapt new systems because probably where they come from, they might feel that if they have to show up in hospital, the first place they need to attend is ED. So we need to be aware of that. So those practical directions really aligns with what NHS England does in terms of equity guidance for women for maternity services and its emphasis on competent care and also issues of challenging discriminatory behavior. However, there's still more work to do.
Yeah.
And what does it mean for us as an association? I'm throwing this both to you and Salah. What does it mean for us
Yeah.
as a diaspora nursing and midwifery association?
I think before I asked Ruth to sort of answer that, I'm just thinking about where are we going in the future? Now, the NHS was created, what, nearly 60 odd years ago.
70
Um,
years ago.
70, oh
Mm,
my gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
that long. That
70
75, isn't
something.
it?
Yeah.
okay, Chaz has
70.
Yeah.
given
Yeah.
us the exact date. Now, it worked then, and it was catering for a particular community then. It hasn't changed. The systems are the same, the hospitals are the same, the processes are the same. But
Mm.
is it fit for use now? Looking at the communities that we have now, is it reflective of the communities that we have now? So I'm thinking about where are we going to the future? And I just want to sort of touch a little bit on what Lord Darcy said in his three key, in his findings and his three key recommendations, where we're moving from the hospital-based care to community, for example, looking at
Mm.
maternal care, thinking about where is that going? And then if it's going into the community, what does that community look like? I've worked in Nottingham, and Ruth, you're in Nottingham, and we know that it's about 43% of Nottingham come from ethnic minority backgrounns.
So
Do our
that's a
outcomes
stark difference
reflect
to
it?
where I am. So because where I am, it's about 3.8% of the population or
Wow.
less of Black and ethnic minorities. So 90
Mhm.
something
Hmm.
is white.
Yeah.
So it's
So
so different.
it's thinking about, yes, it's going to look different in Nottingham from Cornwall, isn't it?
mm,
And
Yeah, it will.
are our systems adaptive? Are they able to reflect the communities that they serve? And for me,
That they
this is the
serve. Yeah.
conversation
Mm.
around flexibility and adaptability. And
Mm.
hearing from what you were talking about, Ruth, I see opportunities for innovation. And I love the
Yeah.
fact that you're a PMA. I'm a PNA, but we're PAs, aren't we? And
Yeah.
looking at those opportunities of where are the gaps and where can we
Mm.
innovate and try something new to answer the problem. Because,
Yeah.
like you say, we know what the problem is. We've been talking about the
Mm.
problem. We've had reviews,
Mm.
reviews, and reviews. We know what the problem is. What can we do about it? So, one of the key things I want us to bear in mind is the dangers of being a nation like the UK, where people assume worldwide that we are leaders in everything that we do. So, for example, we talked
Mm.
about the Abigail score. In Malawi, people are still using that.
Yeah.
We're calling our black and brown babies and as looking at the Abigail score and saying, are they pink? So why are we in Malawi using an Abigail score that is not relevant to our community? But that's how powerful a nation the UK is when you are setting up standards, when you are, putting together frameworks that it
that's
gets adopted
that's so
as the
there's a lot to
national.
decolonize when it comes to medical
Mhm.
education.
You colonize.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, because
So,
even jaundice recognition,
well,
it's still something that's evolving. I know there's some tools that have come out, but are they fully adopted?
Mm.
And are the midwives learning?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to sort of touch on that, thinking about, I know you challenged us to say, as Muna, what does this mean for us? And I think
Yeah.
what it's
Yeah.
saying to us is that there is that opportunity. There is opportunities to work together. And there is opportunities for bi-directional learning because in Malawi they are resuscitating neonates and we're doing fantastic pieces of
We
work.
are.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
how are we then sharing that information so that others
Mm.
can learn from that and then bring that into our communities
Our
here?
Yeah.
communities.
Yes, so there is that opportunity, and we need to take advantage of these gaps and
Yeah.
work in partnership with other organizations, with the NHS, and so on.
Mm.
But I just wanted to just thank Ruth, really, for enlightening us with what's happening in the midwifery world because I'm not a midwife. Charity's not a midwife, but I know Charity,
I
you do
am a
some work around
midwife.
that. Oh, you are. My
I
goodness. So
am a
assist me.
midwife, but
You are
just not
trained nurse
registered with
midwife.
NMC. I'm a midwife.
Okay.
I've
So
delivered.
assist
Oh,
me.
I've catched many babies. I've done all
ready,
sorts.
baby.
I've catched them.
But there is, I think, because midwifery, there's a spotlight on midwifery at the moment.
There
Yes.
is a
And
huge, like literally, the talk
mhm,
everywhere you look, there is some kind of document talking about maternity failures, maternity this, maternity that. So I'm hoping that by obviously these having all these reports, somebody who start hopefully start listening.
Mm.
We want leaders who are gonna be accountable and start taking action. You know, just one shoe fits all, but from looking at it, adapting it like Salah, you said, adapting it to our communities, person-centered care is what is actually required. Targeted action around these racial disparities, making sure that, in maternity outcomes for Black and ethnic minority outcomes are much, much better. We need better systems that are supporting our staff because they are at the forefront, and yet they are the ones that are getting the brunt of when something goes wrong. They're the ones at the forefront being blamed, when in actual fact, they're the ones that are really working hard to make sure that women and babies are receiving care and families are receiving care. And my biggest is that we need to engage with the families. Ask the families. They are the ones that need to transform our services. They're the ones who are accessing the services. So we need to hear from them to say, what is it that you want us to, what you want to see, and design policies.
Have we lost
Oh,
Ruth?
I think we've
This
lost
is
Ruth for
what
a minute.
families.
Oh, we did lose you for a minute.
Oh, okay. I was saying that I really want to see, engagement with families, making sure that we are actually involving them because they're the ones who are accessing the services. And if these services are not designed to accommodate these communities, then what actually are we achieving from it? We need policies that are actually designed and working alongside the communities that we're in, reflective of the communities that we're actually providing these services for.
Well, thank you so much,
Awesome,
Ruth.
Ruthie.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's really
I was
awesome.
just
And I
gonna
think
say, yeah.
the question that I posed to both of you to say how what what does this mean for a diaspora association as us? I strongly feel that probably we need to listen to our members as well, hear their voice because they're mothers. Some of them are mothers. Some of them are probably they are relatives. Their relatives have gone through the services here. We need to listen from them, have a sitting listen, and see how we can contribute and influence policy as an association. So we've got a
Yeah.
part to play, but we've also got a part to highlight these issues because some of our members or their families might interact with these services and they might feel that they're not being listened to. And if they're
Absolutely.
empowered, they will be able to raise issues and navigate the system safely. So before we conclude, PAKACHERE, I just wanted to thank you both very much. And thank you, Ruth, for joining us this evening. We've learned a lot when it comes to these reports. You live and breathe them all the time, and it's good to have that expertise. But most importantly, the message that I've got from you, it's about equity, compassionate care, communication, education. There's a lot to unpack. Over to you, Sala, to close us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Charity. And once again, thank you so much, Ruth. You have scratched the surface because there was so much that we talked about, so much that needs unpacking. And that means that there's an opportunity where, PAKACHERE, we can sit with you and maybe bring in another head from Malawi and see what that looks like in Malawi and learn once
Wow.
again, how do we learn from one another? So thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time and thank you for standing in that space. I would like to believe, I know all the mothers that have gone through your hands have been grateful that they had you because your compassion just radiates. And as Muna, we are just proud to have one of our own in that space looking after our mothers. So keep doing the good work, and we will definitely bring you back. And to our audience, I just want to say Zikomo. Thank you so much for staying with us today. We have learned so much, and I hope that you will be with us once again. And we will see you again under our PAKACHERE tree. Zikomo. Good night.
Thank you. Good
Thank you,
night.
Zigoma.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.